Hello, everyone. It is just me again today, and I am back to talk about homework yet again. I've been thinking about homework a ton. I don't know why this has gotten under my skin so much, but it's just been on my mind, and I can't stop thinking about it. And so I want to talk about it some more, just go through what I've thought about. There's this guy on Instagram that I follow. He's this homeschooling dad, and he's hilarious. And he always says, before you lose your shit on them kids, have you had water today? Have you moved your body? He has a couple things that he says. So, gonna have my water today. I haven't moved my body that much, but I'm calm. I'm in a good mood right now. So, anyways, when Max started doing the homework, and it made me so angry at first. I was like, why is this making me so angry? And my initial thought and response is to get super defensive because he is my child. And the amount of time that I get with him is so limited that I am just really protective of it, I guess. And that's why I get so upset about it, when I think about it. And then I calm down after I let out my frustration. So that's usually how I am. I just kind of explode about things and say a bunch of stuff that pisses a bunch of people off. But then I get it off my chest. And even though it pisses a bunch of people off, at least you know how I feel. So there's that. My delivery is not great because my filter is not great. And since I have 3 kids, I don't sleep a lot. I'm not very polished, never have been, not politically correct, but at least you know where I stand and how I feel about it. So then I start thinking okay, I don't want to be this mom that just whines and moans about something and doesn't exactly know why I feel the way I feel other than just being defensive. And I also can't stand it when people whine and moan about stuff, but they don't have any solution. So when I step back and look at the homework dilemma, let's call it, I try to view it through that lens right now. And in the last episode that I did, I talked about how with kids, and I learned this from Michaeline Doucleff's new book. It's called, let me see, I think it's called Dopamine Kids. It's excellent. You should get it. You should read it. She talks about how with kids, there are generally 2 ways in which kids like to build and create. And one group falls under this category that she was calling bowerbirds, and one group falls under a category that she was calling beavers. And with the bowerbirds, that is typically your kids that they can sit down, they can do super detail oriented tasks like sewing or drawing things that have little tiny details in them. And they're creative. That's how that side of their brain or their mind works when they're building and creating. And then the other side, which is the beaver, is more like they're outside and they are, you know, cutting down trees and digging up things in the dirt. And the way that they build and create is much larger scale, but it's also more destructive. And they're using their body in big ways with big movements. They are more active. They also are I'm not going to say focused, that's not the right word, but they are easily bored with things. They move on to the next thing if the current thing is not holding their attention more quickly than the bowerbird type. And she was talking about how generally girls are more of the bowerbird, lane, if you want to call it that, and boys are more of the beaver lane. But the sexes can cross, and you do see that. But generally, girls more detail oriented, work with their hands to do little intricate things. Boys swinging axes, want to play with tools, want to crush stuff, jump around. That's generally what you see. And in my family, that is how my kids have played out so far in their personalities. Mac, my son, is definitely like that. He loves sports. He loves to just go grab a stick and hit stuff in the yard for no reason. He likes to play with our chickens, be in the garden, all that kind of stuff. My daughter Charlie, she loves doing like these little art projects, like with tiny beads and stuff like that. And it's funny because I think I am actually more of the beaver, which is the one that's like how the boys typically are. So I would be your, I guess, outlier that's crossing into the lane that you don't usually see the girls cross into. And I think that that's why I am so sympathetic to boys in a school setting, because I am wired more like them, which is interesting. It's probably why I was such a tomboy growing up, if I like am honest and think about it, and why I liked to play basketball so much growing up. And I wanted to hang out with boys. I did not like hanging out with girls. Like, it's kind of just how my personality is. So with the homework thing, why I got so upset about it and still get upset about it is because I believe that kids are in school for 8 hours a day. That is a long time. And they are being told what to do for the majority of the day. They don't get that much time outside. They don't get, much recess. They don't get much gym time compared to the rest of the day that they're spent doing, working on specific subjects. And so the way that I see it is when you come home, that needs to be time for your child and your family. And unfortunately, the world that we live in is most of us now have our kids in a zillion sports or extracurricular activities like music or whatever, karate, all these different things. And it just doesn't leave very much time for the family once you get home from school, because realistically for us, we don't get home until 4 every day after sitting in traffic. And then if we have tennis or baseball or something, that's going to take up 2 hours of the night. And it is really important to my husband and I that our family like eats dinner together and spends some time together before the kids go to bed. And so it's just math. Like, there's not enough time in the day. And when homework comes home, that takes away from the very short amount of time that we already have. And it's very frustrating to me because I'm like, with a 5 and 6-year-old kid, kindergarten, if you can't get done whatever the homework is at school, like, what are we doing here? Because we know that sending the homework home is not actually making them any smarter. It's not. So to me, it just feels like busy work, and it feels like it's cutting into the family time. And I don't like that. And also, the last episode that I did, what I talked about is for somebody like me and my son Mac, we're not the Bowerbird type. And so homework, in my mind, the majority of the time fits into that. Like, you're sitting down writing sentences and circling words and doing math problems and stuff like that, where our personality, like, in order for us to thrive, we need to like be outside, getting the energy out and building things with our hands and doing things that are not sitting down writing sentences and working on math problems that have already been happening all day in school. So for our personality type specifically, I just feel like it's like taking away what little joy we have left in the day to do what we want to do that like fills up our cup. For a little girl or even a little boy that is more of the Bowerbird type and they actually like thrive on that stuff, it's no big deal. And I know that most of those people are sitting here like, Liz, you are a broken record. Shut up about the homework. But I can't, because those people don't think like me. Their cup is filled up by doing tasks like that, and they're good at that kind of stuff, and that's how their brain works and operates. And that's great. I am so happy for you if you're that way, because God made us all different, and it takes all types to make the world go round, all types. But I'm speaking about the ones, I'm like speaking for the beavers here, the ones who need to go outside and create, and we're easily bored and want to hop from task to task. Like, we need time too. So, my solution, I'm not whining with no solution. My solution here, make the homework optional so that the Bowerbird kids that are good at that stuff and it fills their cup up and they love doing that kind of stuff and they're happy to do it and it's not causing any strife in their family and it's not taking away from their personal time, let them do it. It keeps them off the screens. It's giving them something that they feel proud about. They can be like, look, mom, I completed my math page. Wonderful, great. If they want to do it, let them do it. Also, if you're the kind of mom that, that kind of stuff fills your cup up too, and you want to sit down and do it with them and interact with them in that way, fantastic. I think that is wonderful if you want to do it that way. For me and Mac, when I sit down, we're both like stubborn. I'm like hard on him if he's not trying hard and not getting the answers right. So we're fighting. It's like causing strife between us. He's tired. I'm tired. It's not what fills our cup up. It's not what we want to be doing. Like, don't make us do it. You had all day to get it done. Don't send it home and ruin our night with it. Let us go outside and shoot hoops and golf and go on our nature walks and dig in the garden, because that's what fills us up and that's what makes us better people, because that's how our brains work. That's how God designed us. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's like that should be encouraged if that's what you're good at in life. Just make it optional. So that's my solution. And you know what? That is good for teachers too. You know why? Because about half the class wouldn't do the homework. Half the homework you don't have to grade. Makes your life easier. About half the class would probably do it, or more, I don't know. So you grade half of it, whatever. There, problem solved. Very, very simple. So that's what I have to say about that. But what I wanted to talk about was how homework has impacted me personally. I was homeschooled until 8th grade, and homeschooling was a really good experience for me. Like, of course, it's not perfect. Everybody can make their criticisms like, oh, you're not socialized enough, whatever they want to say. And a lot of times those criticisms are fair. Like, nothing is perfect. I got a bazillion criticisms about school, but, you can have the same amount of criticisms about homeschool, whatever it may be. But for me, it was a really good experience, and it's probably because of what I'm explaining, how my personality is and how I work and operate. What was so good about it that I remember now looking back, and because I don't remember a lot of the day-to-day stuff, it was a long time ago. I'm 36 now. But my mom was cool about, like, I have always been a night owl, and so she would let me read till like really late at night. And it, she'd come in, I'd be reading like these Nancy Drew books, and I wouldn't want to put them down. And like, for the most part, like, she wouldn't make me stop. She would just let me read. And in the morning, she would let me sleep in, because that's just like how my natural clock worked. And I appreciate that so much now, because the sleep thing is such a fight in our house. Like, Mac, especially now that it's light outside longer, Mac wants to stay out until it's dark. He wants to hit golf balls. He wants to run football routes. God, he is wearing me out with the football routes. Like, he just wants to like do all these things outside. He wants to shoot hoops and play horse with Luke and whatever they're playing. And that's what like fills his cup up. That's what he is good at. And I feel bad, because every night I'm like, come on, you got to go inside. Like, you need a bath or a shower, and we're going to read books, and it's bedtime. You're going to be so exhausted tomorrow. I'm like rushing him to go to bed when I know that he naturally would probably stay up till 9:30 or 10 on his own if I let him. And then the next morning he would naturally sleep until like 8 or 8:30 if I would let him. But instead I'm rushing him. And then in the morning I get up, and I'm not a morning person, but I'm like dragging him out of bed, and I'm short and irritable because I'm still want to be in bed, and he's short and irritable because he still wants to be in bed. So it's like not his natural clock. So that was one thing I really appreciated about homeschooling, was my mom let me like stay up later and sleep in later. And then during the day, there was a structure to every day. Like, we would start with like Bible time in the morning, and then we would usually do our math right after that, and whatever other subjects she had that we were focusing on. And we would follow the same kind of pattern of doing those every day. And I think that school probably does this too. I don't know exactly what their schedule is right now, but she would try to have me do the things that I needed to be most focused on, or that I didn't like the most first, while you're like fresh in the morning. And I thought that was good. Like, if it was math or whatever that we were going to focus on, we would like knock that out first. And then the subjects that were like lighter or that we enjoyed more, that were easier, we would do like later in the day. But most days, and I'll have to go back and ask her, I feel like we were done with school by 2 at the latest. And we got done, and by done with school, I mean like the lesson and the homework was done. So what we would do is like we would do a math lesson and she would teach it to us, or if we were old enough to like do the lesson in the workbook or the textbook on our own, we would do it on our own. And then immediately following the lesson, we would do the homework. And we would sit down and we would start working on our math problems, and she would be there. And so if there was an issue that came up, like we weren't understanding whatever the concept was, we would sit there and talk about it right then and there. And, we would do the homework and complete it. And if it was something that we were not mastering, we would stay on it longer, either that day or the next day. We would like just go back to the exact same subject that we had not mastered, and we would stay on it for however many days we needed to stay on it till we mastered it. If it was something that we got really quickly, we would just move on to the next one. Like she's like, oh, you've got your long division. We don't need to spend 3 weeks on long division. We do it for a day or two and then move on. And so that I understand cannot happen in a school because you have so many kids in one setting. And they learn at different speeds and in different ways. I understand that, but I'm just telling you a benefit of homeschooling and why it was a good experience for me. So anyways, we did that subject by subject, and by 2 o'clock every day, the homework was all done, and that was it. So the rest of the day, if we had basketball or whatever we had the rest of the day, gymnastics, we did that, and then we had time to just play and chill and do whatever we wanted, and we'd eat dinner and we go to bed and do it again the next day. So it wasn't this like rush thing. I think that's part of why I get so frustrated with the homework being sent home. It's just because like since I didn't have to deal with that growing up, it's frustrating to me because it's cutting into my personal time with my kids, and it's not how my personality, my son's personality operates. So that's frustrating. When I went to high school, I went to a Christian high school. The homework started getting sent home, and I was like, well, this sucks, because it took away the free time that I had in the day, and I was playing sports in high school too. I just remember being like, this is terrible. But then, I don't know if it was like maybe my sophomore year or something, I figured out, oh, well, I just need like a study hall, and then I can get most of my homework done in the study hall. And I didn't really mess around in study hall. I know some kids like just mess around and don't do their stuff, and that's on them or whatever. In high school, you've got to start showing personal responsibility and time management skills. But I got the majority of my homework done once I figured out like, oh, I need a study hall class. And that was fine. Like I got it done. I remember the tough homework from high school for me being research papers. And I did have one in a geometry class that I had. I had to like actually design a whole house, and that project took like maybe a whole semester or something, and he wanted it like actually functional and working and stuff like that. So that took a lot of time, like and homework time, I mean. And the research papers, obviously you couldn't do all of that in study hall. Like that was a lot of at home time. And what I learned, and I don't have science to back this up, that just is me talking. Because of my personality, I am the beaver type. When I got home from school, I got the syllabus at the beginning of the year. I knew when the research papers were going to be due and all of that. When I got home from school, I did not want to work on the research papers. It's not what I wanted to do. Also, I started working. Like I got a job at Smoothie King when I was 14 or 15. I was young. And I wanted to like make money. I didn't want to be like doing homework. So I took on like as many shifts as they would let me take. But became a super procrastinator because my personality type was not the type that wanted to be doing the lists and the planning and all of that to work on the homework. So, this is just an observation I've made in life. The bowerbird type people that are the ones that are good at the details and filling out lists and all of that, which is not me, the opposite of me. They don't seem to be as bad of procrastinators as I am. I would like wait until the absolute last minute of when a research paper was due. And for like 2 nights, I would stay up for 2 nights straight and not sleep and write the paper. And I had friends that would work on it like a little bit each day for like a month up until the paper was due. And I could see that their life was like obviously going to be better than mine because they didn't have to spend 2 nights of no sleep, staying up all night, agonizing, trying to like bust out this paper. But I just didn't do that. And I think it's because I, like, everybody needs to fill their cup up somehow. And so if your personality is to fill it up by like being the beaver type, like me and Mac, like we need to go outside, we need to do things, I put off the homework because I hated that type of tedious work so much till the last possible minute because I prioritized filling up my cup and my free time with the other stuff. So I think what the homework did to me is it has turned me into this lifelong procrastinator. And I will say I work very good under pressure. Like I have always performed well under pressure. And so maybe the procrastinating was just self-induced because I thought that I operated and performed better that way. But really, I think it was just me prioritizing my time after school to do what I wanted to do, not what had been assigned to me at school. To this day, I am still a terrible procrastinator when it comes to those tedious things. I know they have to be done. I understand they have to be done. I hate doing them, so I'm going to put them off till the last possible minute because I like doing the things that I like doing better when I have free time and off time. It's funny because for the longest time, I didn't, I like never kept a calendar, which I hate to say that. I would just like keep all the tasks in my head. And it actually like worked out fine for me until I had kids. I mean, I'm sure I missed like a few things here and there, but not very many prior to having kids. Not important things, at least. If I thought they were important, like I would get to them. But I remember my boss telling me, like when I was starting to get better at my job and I was doing like not 3 loans a month, but I was moving up to like 10 and 15 loans a month. He was like, you have got to start writing everything down or you're going to miss stuff. Like something is going to fall through the cracks and you're going to have a loan fall apart and it's going to be really bad. And so he bought me, there were these like leather planners that had all this space to write and organize your stuff out. God, what was it called? Super thick binder thing. A Franklin Covey, that's what it was. He bought me a Franklin Covey and he was like trying to like teach me how to write out my list, prioritize this stuff that I had to do and like fill in all the deadlines and everything. And I did it because when he was like training me, he was checking to make sure that I was doing it because a lot of the loans I was working on were his loans in the beginning. So like he wanted to make sure that I was not going to screw up on any of his loans by missing a deadline or something like that. And it was agony for me. I hated doing that stupid thing. I don't know why. Like I hate making lists. I think a lot of people like love making lists and they love checking off their lists. And I just don't think that way. My mind does not work that way. Anyways, the job that I went into was a really good fit for me because as a beaver type, I felt like I was accomplishing like big, whatever you want to call it, big tasks by helping people like buy houses. And I was very goal oriented and I wanted people to be happy at the end of the process and all of that. But I also was really good at the job because in the job that I did, you bounce around like constantly. So like for breakfast, you're getting coffee with a realtor, like trying to get them to start sending you their business. And then you go to the office and you might be on the phone with a client, like selling them, on the rate and getting them to lock the loan and use you for the loan. And then the next client you're talking to, you're dealing with an appraisal issue. And then the next client you're talking with, you're trying to get them to send you their stuff because they're a procrastinator like me and they're waiting till the last possible minute to gather all their stuff and send it because they're not detail oriented and they don't like going through bank statements and all this crap. And so they are putting it off and you're trying to get them to send it to you because you need it to like meet the deadlines you have to meet to get the loan closed. And then the next phone call you're on, you're scheduling a closing and then you're rushing out the door to a closing. And so it was just all the time, like things were changing, the tasks were changing throughout the day. It wasn't like I was sitting down focusing on super tedious, detail oriented stuff for very long. Now, I did have to do that. Like if I had to sit down and I had a client that had 14 businesses and I'm trying to like work out their income with an underwriter and go through their bank statements and all of that, like I did have to focus on detail oriented stuff. And boy, did I hate it. That was the part of the job I could not stand. But thankfully, I had like an awesome processor and an awesome underwriter. And so we would kind of collaborate on those things and knock them out. And they are super detail oriented and really good at that stuff. So they are the bowerbird and I am the beaver. And we figured out how to like mesh our things. I was out getting the business, like jumping around all the time, doing all the other stuff. And they were like dealing with a lot of the details. And then they would come to me if there was a big problem that they couldn't solve. And I would figure out how to solve the problem. And so that job, but when I think about like my personality type, it was perfect for me. And I think that that's why a lot of boys that probably get pinned as being ADHD and problem kids in school, if they can figure out how to get out of school and sort of do those bowerbird tasks, they're going to be really successful in life. Like a perfect example of that is my husband. Like he is the picture of what a school would call ADHD, needs to be on Adderall, needs to be on Ritalin. He is super athletic because he wants to like play tennis and run around and play golf and play all these things. His job, he's a litigator, a trial attorney. So it's a million things going on all the time. He's not bored. He's good at delegating and his job like makes him feel accomplished when he's at the end of it. So that's a good thing. But he had to get through school. His teachers whined about him talking all the time. Like he did not want to sit and do tedious tasks. It was not his personality. But he did learn how to do them enough to get through school and law school. And then now in his job, he's hired people to help him with the tedious part of the job, like the drafting and that kind of stuff. And it's like a beaver and a bowerbird, like working well together to get the job done and make it happen. And I think our boys that are like that and girls like me, it can go one of two ways. If you have a school and parents and maybe coaches, you could lump in coaches in your life that recognize like, okay, you are not the bowerbird, like school cookie cutter mold, but you have all these other things that school is going to look at as a detriment right now, like talking a lot and not wanting to focus on tedious things for long periods of time and getting easily distracted, I think people would call it, but I wouldn't call it distracted. I think you're easily bored. And so you're wanting to move on to something that is stimulating you intellectually. If a school can recognize that and say, okay, you do have to learn how to do the tedious things, but we'll make that happen during the 8 hours a day that you're here so that at night you can actually like focus on those skills that you're good at. man, you could create some really incredible people, and they just need the right encouragement and the right like guidance. But what I see happening and what's so alarming to me, and I think this is like ultimately what gets to the root of why I got so upset about the homework, is everybody's like, oh, it's homework. It's just a little thing, Liz. It's not a little thing, it's a huge thing. These kids that I'm talking about, the beavers, they are all day being told, sit down, sit still. You don't have that much time outside to be doing the things that you want. We're going to tell you what you're going to focus on. And even if you might be into something like, you know, you're writing sentences, you're really doing well, you're into it, you're writing. Oh, bell rings, it's time to move on to the next class. Let's change and shift your focus very quickly into something else. They're not dealing well with this. Also, we've got them, I call school like prison, the way that it looks. We have them under fluorescent lights. We feed them crap food. It's full of dye, full of sugar, and we expect them to sit in desks. Like, that's not how God made a little boy's body to be, sitting at a desk. Are you kidding me? Like, he made them to be playing outside. We get mad at them when they cannot perform for 8 hours like we expect them to, like sitting there quietly doing the tedious tasks. And so we say, oh, you are hyperactive. You're a problem. Let me put you on ADHD medicine. Here's some Ritalin. Here's some Adderall. Here's some Vyvanse. Let's just make you into a little zombie so that you can sit in school and do the tedious things that we want you to do. We're going to give you speed, essentially, so that you can perform like a bowerbird, which is not how God made you to be. That breaks my heart. I'll never let anybody medicate Mac. I'm so glad that my husband was not medicated. It breaks my heart because that's not like how God made these type of little boys and these little girls. And so with the homework, if you can identify that this is the type of kid that is the beaver, if you're going to give them homework, let their homework be things that fill up their cup and build up those skills that they naturally have. Say, okay, your homework is to go outside and build a fort. And it might take you 3 weeks to do it, but then have your mom take pictures on the phone and send it to us. Send us pictures of the fort that you built. Hey, that's fantastic. Or, better yet, ask the kid what their interest is at the moment. Because Mac would tell you, he's obsessed with football right now. Like, he's trying to teach me how to run routes, and I could not care less about running routes. But he's like, he'll show me the football. I don't even know where he's seen this. And he'll be like, putting his finger on the seam, like, you're gonna stand here and I'm gonna run post and then I'm gonna cut over here and you're gonna fake to me and then I'm gonna fake over here, and I don't know, all this stuff he's saying. He's obsessed with it right now. So if you said to Mac, hey Mac, for your homework tonight, how about you draw out in chalk on your sidewalk 8 different routes, and then have your dad send a video of you running the routes that you came up with. That's cool. That would build up like the beavers, the little kids that are generally deemed as problems. It would fill up their cup if you would say, what's your interest? Okay, I don't want you to go home and sit on screens and video games, but if your interest is running these routes, okay, can you do them at home? Can you manage the time to do that and stuff? I think you would see a huge difference in these kids. Or just trust that the parents can do that for them. Because I promise you, I can. Like, I know what Mac likes to do. I don't want him to sit and watch TV all the time. And thank goodness winter is over, because now it's not a battle. He just wants to go outside because it's warm and sunny. As soon as he gets home, we're just outside. So that's not even like an issue now. But like, parents know what their kids want to do, and they can give them tasks like we've all been going down to the garden. We've been planting the garden this week. Like, and that's a family activity and it's filling up Mac's cup and we're all outside together in sunshine and it's great. Like, we don't have to have the homework. So I'm just begging you, like, please recognize these kids that are not cut out for school. Like, don't make us hate school even more. That is accomplishing the opposite of what your intended goal is. And when you send home the tedious homework for us to do, it's making us hate school because we associate learning with doing stuff that we don't want to do because it's not the type of learning that we want to do. What we want to be learning is in the woods. Like, what happens when I jump off this huge log onto slippery leaves? Do I fall or can I catch my balance? That's the kind of learning we want to be doing. And yes, it is different than the academic learning that you are doing in school, but it's still learning and it's still necessary in this world. I believe it's going to be even more necessary as AI comes onto the scene because I hate to break it to you, but going to people and saying, like, can you complete these tedious tasks for me? Those jobs are going away. I just get on ChatGPT and I say, hey, here's the 15 things I need you to do, compile it into one PDF for me, and ChatGPT does it in 16 seconds. Like, I'm not going to hire some girl and pay her $20 an hour to do that. If I can pay ChatGPT $200 a month and it does it in 30 seconds. So I think you're going to need these beaver kids more than you think coming up in the future. And if you are wise, you will tap into that. And instead of crushing their spirits, make the homework optional and trust that the parents can handle it, or give homework to them that builds them up as a little human being. We're talking about kindergarten here. They are only 6 years old, 5, 6 years old. Shouldn't be doing it anyways. That's just absurd. Nobody used to do it. And now it's like, we got to make them grow up and grow up and grow up. But if you're going to do it, have it be things that build them up and don't tear them down. Have it be things that make them love learning and want to learn more instead of just like crushing their spirit even more. I feel like the disconnect is that I said this in the last episode. Most people that go into academia and teaching are the bowerbird types because they are organized. They can keep the list. Like, I can't teach because I can't keep a list. I don't even like keeping a calendar. I keep a calendar now, but I don't look at it half the time. I don't. It's like, I have to because I have kids. But if I had a choice, I wouldn't. You need both of us to make the world go round. And so recognize that the schools are full of the bowerbird types, but the students are both. Beavers don't get a choice. We have to go to school too and learn in this format, even though that's not what is most conducive for us to learning well. We have to do it. So just remember that we love learning and we want to learn and we don't want to be problems and all these things that like people are like, stop being that way. We don't want to be problems, but it's how we are. And so I think if we can reframe it to where those things are not problems, you could get a ton of kids off the meds, for one, which would be fantastic. But also, you would see these kids blossom into healthy adults that are in jobs like I was in and my husband was in. And we need people in those kind of jobs. Also, we need contractors. We need plumbers. We need electricians. We need so many of these type jobs. And we know for sure those jobs aren't going away with AI. So let's like foster that type of learning. So I'm not mad at anyone about the homework. Everyone at Max School is super nice. I like them all as people. I think they're fantastic. I am glad that Mac has them as teachers. I am just trying to, as a mom, put into words things that I know that a 5-year-old kid can't say. They don't know how to say it. All they know how to say is like, I'm antsy, I don't want to do this detail-oriented stuff anymore. I am wiggling my body around because I don't want to do this stuff anymore. Like, please let me outside. They just start acting out. They start talking, and it's because they don't know how to say all the things I've spent the last 3 episodes saying about homework. And this has taken a lot of introspection for me because I'm like, why am I the way that I am? I don't want to be this way. I don't want to feel like I'm at war with people. I don't want to not sleep at night because I'm so upset about homework for a 5-year-old. But God made me this way, so he did it on purpose. And he made my son the way that he made him. He did it on purpose. He made my daughter the way that he made her. He did it on purpose. And so we have to figure out why, and we need to try to build up those things in people. And I do think one thing I've also like kind of learned as a mom, as I've had more kids, is that instead of trying to make my kids so good at what does not come natural to them and what they're not good at, and I'm not saying that there's not a time and place for that, because there 100% is, and it's part of life. I try to focus more now on what they are good at and like what pushes them, because what I've realized is that if they're going to like really make an impact in their life, they need to be doing what God designed them to do. And so like leaning into those gifts that they have and honing those gifts and really getting good at them is where I want to spend my time with them, not forcing them to be something that God didn't make them to be. So for Mac, forcing him to do all these detail-oriented things, he does need to learn how to do them, and there's a time and place for that. But instead of making that the primary focus, I'd much rather lean into what he's good at and what his strengths are and try to give him an environment where he can really like build on those things. So, all right. I'm not going to do any more episodes about homework unless somebody wants to come join me and do one with me. And if you think I'm totally wrong on this, come tell me why I'm wrong. I'd love to hear someone else's perspective, because I could just be way out of line on this. Yeah, so if you want to come talk to me about it, I'll do another one on homework. But I promise I'll change topics because I've vented about this enough. And I think I feel okay. I think I just explained what I wanted to explain about why I got so upset about it. So anyways, I hope that everyone has a fantastic day. We'll see you next time.